Let's go ahead. Let's look back at kind of where you kind of grew up, all that sort of stuff. And then how did we kind of get here today?
Yeah. I mean, growing up, like Sean alluded to, both grew up in Pendleton, played baseball together. Sports was like a huge part of my life. I think that's what fueled a lot of my competitive drive. Now I live it out a lot differently. It's more in a business setting. Yeah. From, I guess, childhood, went to, I guess, backing things up, I kind of lived my life how I thought I was supposed to, right? So you graduate high school, you go to college, supposed to do all 4 years, get out, get a job like in some corporate environment, try to climb that ladder, and then just live a comfortable life. Hopefully accumulate wealth along the way is, kind of what we're taught, but that is not how things worked out for me at all. So yeah, I went to college, went to IUPUI, downtown Indy, partied my butt off. I could not handle the freedom. Like it was so bad. Like even I think back to it like pretty often, especially when I talk to like some youngsters that I have working for me now that are currently in college, and they're stressed. They don't know what they want to do. They don't have a plan. Yeah, I just tell them like, guys, I don't know what I want to do still. Like, and I'm okay. Like you're going to be okay just because it has to be. But I partied my butt off at IUPUI, came home after that first year. I think I was on like academic probation, and I literally couldn't go back that next semester. So felt super lost, like felt super broken just as a guy. I'm at this point, 19 after your freshman year of college, not welcome back on campus, had the time of my life, but also knew I royally screwed up in the process.
I've been there too.
But did a ton of like reflecting of like, all right, this isn't going to work. Like I've just got to find a way. So like, what does that look like? So went to Ivy Tech, I believe, for like a year or two. I didn't graduate from there, just got as many credits as I needed to like get back in. Started working full time. I worked a bunch of random jobs. Like one of them was I sold, ironically, like Kirby vacuums.
That's fun.
Like door to door, miserable. I learned that I did not like that experience, but it's part of the journey. I think that one just kind of taught me, like in order to get where you want to go, or in order to get into a better spot, like you have to make sacrifices. Like I think a lot of times people get hung up on just being uncomfortable and they can't move past that. And that was a lot of why I was like stuck at home. So like whenever I got home from college, knew I couldn't go back that next semester. I wasn't going to be with now my best friends I had, because I just lived with them for a year and had the time of my life. So I just felt super, super stuck. Like, what am I going to do? So I think I just had a moment of realization of like, I think there's a military quote, like embrace the suck. I had to just embrace the suck. So I'm like, I can choose what's hard. Like I can either find a way to weasel my way back onto campus and then like inevitably party more and mess up more, right? But I was like, why don't I take a hard route that's going to benefit me later on? These aren't things I was thinking consciously at the time. It was more, when I'm feeling stuck, I'm like, all right, I've got to do something to make myself proud later on. And I think that's something that I've now kept with me over the course of my life after the fact. But yeah, came home super stuck, worked some odds and ends jobs. I end up getting a job at it's a company called Ketter. It's actually in Anderson. Not their, I think it might be their North American headquarters still, but it's a plastics manufacturer, injection molding. So I started in logistics customer service there. I think I was maybe 20. It would have been like around the time of my sophomore year of college. I got offered a full-time job. Initially, I think I just hired on as a temp because they needed help. I'm a very intellectually curious person, so I've since learned to channel that to, I just ask a lot of questions, like just out of genuine curiosity. So I started asking more of like, why do things work this way? That allowed me to, drive a lot of results for them and make things more efficient at a young age. I knew nothing about logistics or supply chain at the time, but just kind of figured that out. Got offered another role there, grew into that where I was essentially forecasting all of the different distribution models within the U.S. They had sales channels of direct-to-consumer, so selling through their website, Amazon, a bunch of retail outlets like Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, Target, etc. So, we're selling in all these places. How much product do we need to bring in? How much do we have? What are the lead times? So that's kind of, I learned supply chain like by fire, like literally just being in it. And the reason I was trusted with that role is I just learned Excel, like something that I think I was supposed to learn in one of those classes that I never went to. But yeah, that's what ultimately led me there. And then from there, I really leaned on my dad and having conversations with him about like, how do I climb this? I don't have a college degree. The number one thing all these people are looking for in any job that's going to provide me financial comfort and stability is a degree. still actively working towards it. Like I was going to school full time online while working full time. So that was the suck part. You know, a lot of my friends, you know, you're turning 21, you guys might go away for a weekend, like get hammered, have a really good time. Like I didn't have that luxury. I had a job and I had classes I had to take. So that remained the same for a period of probably like 3 or 4 years until I finished. But even then, I mean, still had fun in there. It was more just learning like a new normal and a new identity. Cause I think my identity growing up was, you know, I'm just going to do what I'm told. I'm going to do what's normal. Like what's comfortable to me is like what I've been taught, but I failed at that. And like, I had to accept that. And that was the hardest thing for me is I just felt super, super stuck and lonely like in that moment. And I was like, all right, I got to find a way to crawl out of this.
That's a tough place to be, especially like as a young person.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so I got started in dad's business, similar, went to Iowa, didn't finish Iowa. You can assume the reasons why.
Yeah. You were in a harder environment than I was.
Number 2 party school in the nation. Went out there with no friends, but I came out with some lifelongs. Obviously, I didn't go back. Went to Ivy Tech.
Yep.
Started working dad's business. Same idea, right? But, you know, the thing that I wish we both would have known is that we were both doing the exact same thing at the same time, just so we would have had another guy.
Yeah. Because something you don't talk about.
No.
Like you're going to suffer in silence
today.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like me saying that to that camera is uncomfortable, but I know that in conversations I've had with other people and others in my personal life, I know it's something that a lot of people go through, whether it's, I think the big one is that high school to college transition and trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
You hear people say college is not for everyone, but like it's not. It's truly
pivoted a lot more in the last 10 years too. You think
very
about
different.
where the world's gone. So tell me a little bit after that. How did you end up at Chomps? Because you and I eventually reconnected in like 22. So I got to bridge the gap somewhere and figure out where to.
Yeah. So yeah, in those conversations I was having with my dad of like, you know, what do I do? Like, where do I go from here? You know, it's, hey, just keep your nose down. Like, just keep working and getting that degree, that piece of paper that everyone says you need. I guess it was a chip on my shoulder that I didn't have it because I knew there were a lot of people that I'd worked with at this point in time that had, you know, degrees in supply chain that I was outperforming in their own field. And it's something I'd never studied a minute of. You know, I was literally learning it as it went on, you know, reading about it, like more like macroeconomic events, like, you know, if there's a recession, like how is that going to impact the business? So I'm not learning that in a classroom. I'm learning it like in real time. But in that, my dad's a professor at IU. Negotiation is something that he teaches like at Indiana. And I knew that. So, you know, I'd kind of been asking him, you know, like, what do I do? Like, how do I go to my employer and say, I want more money? And he kind of taught me, you don't want to just, and this is for anyone listening, if you want more money at a job, that's ultimately a goal most of the time. You never want to go to your boss and say, I need to make more money, because the rebuttal is like, okay, what more are you going to do for me? Right? Like you signed a contract or an employee agreement to do a certain job at this rate. Yeah, there might be like cost of living increases or something like that. But if you want like a real needle mover at home, you've got to figure out what you can do to provide more value for them, to just create more value for yourself. And my dad had told me, I think he grew up with parents that worked at GM, you know, like in the Anderson area when Anderson was popping, which has been a minute, but yeah. So during that time, so I think he had grown up under the period of like loyalty and like working for the same company for a super long time. They're going to take care of you with a pension. Those times are mostly gone. So I think my dad being able to zoom out and give me that insight was super helpful because again, like by this point, I'm still kind of operating under the assumption of this is what I'm supposed to do. So he was like, you know, what is your market value? Like, what do you need to do? So, you know, from that, it's me going around looking at like jobs that I'm doing right now. They all say that they need a degree, but something in me just said apply anyway.